Hi, Lou and John here, checking in again on our heart-to-heart videos. The title of this, we are just about to post the kind of the acronym that's the big banner, isn't it? The big picture acronym.
Yeah, it's the kind of the structure of Bottled Up.
Yeah, and it's hope. And we're going to go into HOPE. Before we start, this is titled When We Feel Hope is Slipping Away. And I think that as we go into this, I remember so clearly crying at the end of my garden in the night, waking up in the morning, feeling that I just couldn't go on, and the moments of absolute despair and hopelessness on my journey. And we hear that, don't we, when you post back, which we love you to do, and that people sometimes post in one of those moments when you feel you can't go on. Now, one thing I did learn is the feeling is deep, but actually you do go on. Sometimes you shouldn't, but generally if you're motivated to go on, you can find that strength and keep going. But these are horrible moments.
Oh, they absolutely. I think one of the things that always amazes me is that human beings are so much more resilient than they believe they are.
Yes, true.
And that when we're tested, actually we find a sort of strength inside us that we just never knew existed. And I think I'm always amazed by it. It's wonderful that what people can actually do, what they can cope with. I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying it's amazing what they can cope with.
So first of all, if you're in one of those moments, John too as a drinker has known moments of absolute despair and bleakness, and just first thing we want to say is we're so glad you're listening. And your pain and your desperation matters to us. It's one of the reasons that we're here. So first of all, we want to reach out and we just want to connect with you. And the reason we do this every week is so that you know that we're real people reaching out to real people in pain. We've always wanted this to be a place where we connect with you and that you are drawn into our community. So let's talk about the programme now. Inevitably, it's a mirror, isn't it?
It's one way of looking at it, if you pardon the pun, I suppose. You say it kind of reflects things that you may or may not want to see. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, I think firstly, the first mirror is, is this working? Are you doing things that actually are making the situation worse? So it's a reflection, it's a mirror of your behaviour. And I think one of the things we do is the do's and the don'ts of living with an alcoholic. So in that way, it's a mirror. It's a mirror on how we're taking care of ourselves, which is enormously important, and we'll refer to that a little bit later in this video. But I think too, it can be a mirror that actually begins to highlight how bad the situation is, and how kind of the circumstances are coming to the end. I mean, we read some stuff, and quite frankly, we'd club together and get them a ticket in the train out of town if we could, couldn't we sometimes?
There are times when I just why are you still there? And mostly the time the reason they're still there is because two things: one, love, and the other one is hope. But the mirror analogy, I think, is actually is quite interesting. And to some extent, I hadn't really thought about it in that light, but it also takes you into the holomerers. And the holomerers, it distorts things as well. And there's one mirror in there which I love. It makes me look really slim. And I'd stand in front of that forever. But it's an illusion. I go to the next one and I look like the side of a house. Again, it's an illusion.
And also the mirror that we're getting back from our drinker is not true either. Often we become the focus for their rage, for their blame.
Absolutely.
And so they dump that on us. And so they give us the kind of, look how fat you look mirror, don't they? So, again, you get stuck in all these kind of different perceptions about what's going on.
But even when you get to the end of the holomirrors and you've got the mirror, you know,
Yeah.
which is supposedly the reality mirror.
Yeah.
That depends on what's in here. You know, it depends what's in your head, because I have, you know, my head tells me I'm 21.
Yes.
You know, and I go, hey, you know, it's 21, and I go and I look at this mirror and I think, oh God, maybe 22. You know, you know, it's not what I expect to see. You know, but I have to adjust to that reality, and sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to adjust to this reality rather than the ideal reality that we hope for.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things we have to say over and over again is that the Bottled Up program isn't pixie dust. It's not a quick fix.
Oh, no, it's not.
I know you told me the other day you tried to learn the guitar.
I did, yes. I was. I decided to be a rock god. You know, I was going to be Clapton. He was my hero at that point. You know, and I thought, right, that's for me.
Yeah.
So I got this guitar and I picked it up, and the thing didn't work. I was going to take it back to the shop. This thing does not work. I could not get Layla out of it. I could not, you know. I strummed it, and my fingers didn't fit, and I thought. So I gave up, you know.
Yes.
I just went out and bought an LP instead. You know, it was much easier.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, you know. I look back now, and I quite often, and I regret it.
Yeah.
And why do I regret? I regret that I didn't actually persist.
I hear that a lot, you know,
Yeah.
because I did piano at Royal College of Music. A number of times I've heard people say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't given up the piano."
Yeah.
And I think the difference between you and me is I started the piano and I kept going with the piano. And I had my teacher, that it was my reflection each week as to how much effort I put into it. So in a way, I suppose the teacher was the equivalent here of the Bottled Up program.
This is the difference between me and Lou, you know. I mean, my guitar's still gathering dust there, you know, years and years later. And then Lou, you know, was a member of the Royal College of Music, and, you know, he was a classical musician and all of that. And, you know, what was the difference between you and me?
I think I was accountable. I had somebody that was reflecting what was going on inside of me. I think also I absolutely loved the piano. Even sometimes I fell out with it, but I loved the piano. And I think Bottled Up program, in a way, is a bit like the teacher. That actually there's lots of work programs. There's a reflection all the time of how you're doing. But we're in it because we love our drinker. That's what keeps us going. And that's why we had a little bit of sparkiness when we, in the last kind of love, we were talking about valuing your drinker. But if you don't remember why you fell in love and what that was all about, because that's the true person.
What's the point of being there?
That's the reason that we kind of go on. So hope is there. But sometimes if you apply the program, you will see it as a mirror that the situation has got to a point where you kind of need to let go. And again, we always want this to be a place where you feel you're encouraged to let go, but be aware of the fact that the feeling you want to let go is not a good gauge of when you need to let go. Just looking at the circumstances, doing the tool share, which I'm sure we'll do again as we're going through all the acronyms, thinking it through. But the one thing I would say, part one of our program is the most important thing, whether you stay or go, because that's about taking care of yourself, isn't it? About building up your own inner strength in life again.
It is. I mean, this program is about empowerment. That's really what it's all about. The bottom line. I mean, when we first wrote the book, the subtitle, you know, it was Bottled Up, but the subtitle was How to Survive Living with a Problem Drinker. You know, that was it. That was our intention at that time. You know, but I've forgotten what I was talking about there.
We were talking about using all the Bottled Up program to I forgot what you're talking about. Welcome to old age.
It's totally gone out of our head. They've got so many things going on at the same time. Anyway, the program is about trying to empower you, but nobody can really empower you. You need to empower yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and we started off talking about hopelessness, and and the one thing that if you go right back to the research and on people who live with problem drinkers, about families that live with problem drinkers, the one thing that made a difference was giving somebody the tools.
Yeah.
It's giving somebody the tools. But even if you but they have to pick those tools up. They have to use those tools, and if you use those tools, something will happen. But if you are looking, like me, to pick up the guitar and go, and all of a sudden, I mean, I had the look, I had the long hair and the beads, I had the whole bit. But I didn't put in the work to play the guitar.
Yeah.
That was the issue. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the pixie dust for the guitar, and it just wasn't there. There has to be some.
And you probably, if you gave me £1 for every time I've said to you when we did the programme, and when we do these, they're exhausted, they're tired, they don't want to be told to do work. What we mean by work is understanding what works and what doesn't, and applying what's effective, standing back from what isn't. The work is getting to know the situation really well and figuring out your way through.
It is, but it's about being good to yourself.
Yeah.
It's about looking after yourself.
That's good work.
It's about taking the focus off of the drinker.
Yeah.
And put some of the focus on you. I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was all about what can I do for that? What can you do for you? What can you do for you? And that's what's important here. I mean, I've said it time and time again in these videos about the stewardess and when the aeroplane, when the gas mask, when the oxygen masks come down, put yours on first, because otherwise you can't help anybody else. And that's part of the empowerment in the program. It's not about we're sending you down the bottled up mines. It's not about that. It's about there are a few things that you need to do, and one of them, and the most important one of all, is look after yourself. Yeah.
And I really agree with that. And there is always hope.
Yep.
Now, it might not be in the situation you're in the relationship that is falling apart, but there's always hope for a good life. I used to think, living with my drinker, that was all my life was ever going to be.
Yeah.
But now I got you, and my life is just so different. So there's life after life with the drinker, and if you're at that point where you're thinking I've had enough, we bless you and support you in that, and then look for someone who will love you well.
Yeah.
That was I always say that about you. You love me well, and I'm so grateful for it.
Shucks.
I'm going to have to finish now because he's going to start poking me. Anyway, good. Thank you for your comments. Again, we listen really hard to them, and we always want to feedback with kind of input whenever we feel it's right. And come and join us on Hope, which we'll be starting very soon. Next week, maybe.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.